I'm Jay Levine. You're watching Taped with Rabbi Doug.
We're going to see Rabbi Doug. We're going to see Rabbi Doug. We're going to see Rabbi Doug on your TV tonight.
But Daddy, I want to watch Monday Night Football.
Forget about Monday Night Football. There's no other thing we're going to watch on Monday but Rabbi Doug. Yeah, Rabbi Doug on TV tonight. We're going to see Rabbi Doug. Oh, everybody talk about Doug.
Shalom and welcome to Taped with Rabbi Doug. Glad you could be with us this week. My guest is back with us once again from Eretz Yisrael, from Israel, Dr. Larry Hirsch. Welcome back. And glad you could be with us once again here in the studio. Larry's been on the show a number of times and talked about the political situation in Israel. He's talked about Mini Israel, the amusement park and museum. He's here today to talk about something that we have never had the chance to talk about, nor have we ever interviewed anyone who has had the opportunity to do what he has done, and that is to go up on the Har HaBayit, to go up onto the Temple Mount where the Dome of the Rock is, where the Holy Temple once stood. Both Holy Temples once stood in the old city of Jerusalem. And Dr. Hirsch, tell us, how the heck did you end up getting permission to do something like that?
Well, for several years, starting in October of 2000, when the present Intifada, the present war, began, which started on Rosh Hashanah in 2000. For approximately 3.5 years, till May of 2003, Jews were not allowed up on the Har HaBayit. That's recent history. In May of 2003, Jews were again allowed to go up on Har HaBayit. Actually, no non-Muslim was allowed. From that point, October 2003, if you recall, Prime Minister Sharon, he wasn't Prime Minister, he was running against Ehud Barak, went up on the Temple Mount. The Arabs basically used his appearance as the excuse to start the current Intifada war. And the police, and basically it's the police and the government, were very afraid of Arab uprisings, and therefore no Jews allowed. And that started a period of really destruction up on the Temple Mount. And Israel Antiquities, which is a ministry of the government, the archaeologists throughout the land of Israel, Dr. Eilat Mazar, whose father was a famous archaeologist, she is one of the leading archaeologists in Israel today, was incensed over the destruction, and we'll see it on some of it on the tape, of the destruction going up on the Temple, occurring on the Temple Mount, that the Muslims, the Arabs, are doing under the guidance and supervision and direction of the Waqf, which is the Arab council that controls the Temple Mount. There's a mufti appointed by Arafat up there. There was a different mufti. He was thrown out several years ago by the Palestinian Authority and Arafat. The destruction went on. Finally, several ministers in the government made such a hullabaloo, Jews were again allowed up. And there's no question that the fact that the Jews again are allowed up prevents a tremendous amount of destruction. We'll see the destruction of 2,000-year-old remnants from Herod's temple. And basically what the Arabs were trying to do was to destroy any trace, if they can do it, if they can get away with it, that this is the site of the Jewish temple. In fact, Arafat, when he was at Camp David, President Clinton was appalled when Arafat, in the presence of Ehud Barak and all the ministers of both governments, the Palestinian Authority and Israel's government, Arafat made the statement, there's never been a Jewish presence up here on this Temple Mount. And Clinton was simply appalled. He said, what are you talking about? Every Christian, every Jew knows the Temple of Solomon and Herod's temple was up there. So how we ended up going up there was, thank God, the government allowed us to go up. Starting in May of 2003, I didn't go up at that point, and the first time I went up was this year, Chol HaMoed Pesach, which was April of 2004. I went up with my son-in-law, and then I went up again right after Shavuos. Within 7 days after Shavuos, you can go up within 7 days after any of the three main Chagim, the three holidays, Pesach, Passover, Shavuos, and Sukkot. Sukkot, you can go up within 7 days after the Chag. It was back then, 2,000 years ago, if you didn't bring your holiday sacrifices, you could bring within 7 days. So Shavuos, so the other two holidays have a Chol HaMoed, an intermediate days. You can bring them then. Shavuos has 7 days. So within 7 days, you can go up and not tear kriya. You'd have to make a tear in your shirt, just like over a deceased relative. And I want to say that in Hebrew, that any learning we do, and we're doing learning of Torah now, that this should be Ilui Nishmat Avi Akiva ben Yoshua Yehei Mishkavo Baruch. My father passed away in February. But you'd have to tear kriya.
And that's why during those 7 days after Shavuos, because the people were allowed to bring korbanos, that people don't say the tachnun in the davening, which is sort of a repentance and mourning prayer, and because the simcha lasts for 7 days afterwards, the joy of the holiday.
And I wanted to read that tachnun. Now, this is the part of the tachnun is part of the morning prayer every day, but on Mondays and Thursdays we read a special part to tachnun, and it gives an idea of what's going on, the importance of the Temple Mount. Adonai kecholti kotecha yeshavna apcha v'chamatcha mircha Yerushalayim har kodshecha, which reads in English, my Lord, please let your anger and your fury turn away from your city, Jerusalem, your holy mountain, for because of our sins and the iniquities of our ancestors, Jerusalem and your people have become a scorn for all around us. Pay heed to the prayer of your servant and his supplications, and let your countenance shine upon your desolate sanctuary for my Lord's sake. And it continues with prayers for the city of Jerusalem. Now, the prayers, what we've been left with up on the Temple Mount is this shame and disgrace, and almost an absurdity. We'll see on the tape. It talks about our prayers for the Temple Mount. Let our prayers bring God's mercy so that we can go back to the Temple Mount. We're not allowed to pray on the Temple Mount. As absurd as that sounds, non-Muslims, because of transfer of authority to the Waqf, security authority is still in the hands of Jewish police and Jewish soldiers. But when I was up there, if a Jew or a non-Muslim prays out loud, the Waqf will immediately, and you'll see on the tape, there's a Waqf official, goes around with every group of people, whether the group is 1, like I did on Shavuos, or whether the group is 50, like I was with on Pesach. The Waqf official, if he sees you praying out loud, will immediately call over to the police. You'll be escorted immediately off the mountain. It's like a vaudeville hook in the old days, and you'll be told, give me your Israeli, you'll be asked by the police, give me your Israeli ID, and you're not allowed back for 2 weeks. And it used to be worse, but that's only part of the absurdities.
Tell me something. When I was studying in Israel, and I lived in Israel, went to yeshiva in my college years, there was a sign at the entrance to the stairway that took you up onto the Temple Mount where the mosque is, and it said, no Jews allowed because of the holy land that you'd be stepping on above. And what is the story now? It used to be that Jewish people did not go up there because, God forbid, they should step where the Holy of Holies stood. They should step in a place which is too holy, that only a Kohen, only a person who's a descendant of Aaron, the brother of Moses, is allowed to stand. How is it now that all of a sudden it's okay to go up there and those signs don't keep the Jews away from going up there like they did when I lived in Israel?
An excellent question. And really, it's always been allowed to go up there. The only question is, where are you allowed to go? And what happened was, after 1967, for 19 years, the Jews weren't allowed even in the whole old city of Jerusalem. And the Temple Mount lies on the eastern end of the old city of Jerusalem.
Right above the Western Wall,
right
above the
Western Wall, right above the Kotel. Now, what is the Kotel? We'll get to that in a minute. The Kotel really isn't part of the temple at all. It's part of the by most authorities, all except for Rav Shlomo Goren, the former chief rabbi, of the army, who was the chief rabbi of the army, and then chief rabbi of Israel, was the chief rabbi during the 67 War, the 6 Day War. The famous pictures of Rabbi Goren blowing his shofar up on the Temple Mount with his Sefer Torah, with the Torah scroll. The Western Wall is, by most accounts today, a retaining wall outside and to the west of the actual temple.
Right. It wasn't the wall of the temple itself. It was the wall around the Temple Mount itself. It was the wall that went around the mount.
Exactly. And what happened was in 67, because of the chief rabbi's fears that people would go into areas which are not allowed to go into, and I would like to show a map what that entails. Therefore, there was issued a psak din, a decision by the chief rabbinate not to allow Jews up on the Temple Mount at all. But because of the destruction that's been going on, the many prominent rabbis in Israel, including Rabbi Aaron Lichtenstein, allowed his yeshiva, Alon Shvut, to go up in groups. Recently, the Beit El Yeshiva, Rav Melamed, Rav Zalman Melamed allowed his yeshiva. Other groups went. In fact, among the first groups that went up in a year ago May was Rabbi Shlomo Riskin and many other prominent rabbis, realizing that the very lack of a Jewish presence on the mountain was creating an opportunity for more destruction of relics that were 2,000 years old. Therefore, Jews are now being encouraged to go back up. And I'd like to show you
this map, if you'll hold it up to the camera here. And
maybe we can get a close-up, and I think and I can explain with these two maps what is involved here. This is a map of basically the Temple Mount, and the Temple Mount originally was much smaller than what we have today. The Kotel, for example, is right here. This is where you stand in front of the Kotel, the Western Wall. This is Shar HaMugrabim, which is where you go up. In fact, I have a picture of Shar HaMugrabim, which Mugrabi is Jerba, North Africa. This is the Shar. Actually, Shar HaMugrabim is also known as the Shar of the Rambam. The Rambam went up...
Shar is the gate.
Gate, excuse me. The Rambam went up on Har HaBayit, on the Temple Mount.
Maimonides
in 1166, and therefore the name of Shar HaMugrabi is also Shar HaRambam. That was 838 years ago. There's a ramp, which is where your sign is. Over here are some policemen, and they have some interesting stories of that. You go up and into the Shar HaMugrabi. This area here was involved with an earthquake about 4 or 5 months ago. You may have heard quite a bit of destruction. The Kotel you can actually see here. But the Kotel is only a very small section of the retaining wall of the mountain, and we'll put that down for a minute. The actual original Temple Mount is more centered right in this area, which is a raised area.
Where the mosque is now?
Where the mosque. This is the Dome of the Rock. Right here, the golden dome, which sits over the Even Hashtiah. We'll get to that in a minute. But this is the original mount, the elevated section. One would walk in through here, which is what we did, and walks around this area, because this area is the focus. Would be the forbidden area. Now, the forbidden area, actually, I'd like to show it here on this close-up, and we'll get to that in a minute. And the controversy involves the forbidden area. And if you can see the number 5 here, the 5 is what's called the chayil, which is a small fence, 10 amot, or 6 meters wide, which delineates an area which housed the actual sanctuary, the building of the sanctuary being at this western end.
Where the ark was kept?
Where the ark was kept. Where the ark was kept. Where here would be the Mizbeach, the altar for sacrifices, slightly to the east. This was what's called Ezrat Nashim, the women's area, where the Simchat Beit HaShoeva and Sukkot went on, the water ceremony. Now, this whole area is 205 by 93 meters. This is the area where Jews cannot go for the following reason. Tamei Meis, a person who's touched a dead body, or a person who's been touched by a person who's touched a dead body, or been to a cemetery, which everyone these days is therefore defiled by
This spiritual
touch
impurity.
of dead.
The spiritual impurity.
The touch of a dead person, yes. Therefore, cannot go within this 205 by 93 area. Now, midoraiso, or according to the Torah, this cross-hatched area, which is the Ezrat Kohanim and Ezrat Yisrael, the area where Kohanim and Yisrael, who have been purified with the water of the red heifer, the paraduma, they can go into this area. But min haTorah, a tomei mace cannot, a person who is defiled by the dead cannot go into the crosshatch area. Midrabanan, or by edict of the rabbis, more than 2,500 years ago, you cannot go into the Ezrat Nashim, the area
where the women
number 4, where the women were allowed. And this is therefore the 205 by 93 meter area where you're not allowed to go.
And where's that in the big picture?
In the big picture of things, this is 500 meters. And remember, the not allowed area north to south is only 93 meters. This is 5 football fields long. And this area here, 205 meters, this does take up east to west. There's a problem, and we'll see that in a second. But east to west is from here to here. Kotel being here, heading toward east. Mount of Olives is over by my hand. East to west is 205 meters, but there's 300 meters here.
So people, when they're standing and praying, are down here below.
Are down here below. You go in here,
Western wall.
walk around. The southern end is well away from the forbidden area. You hug on the eastern side, hug the wall, because we'll get to that, various theories of how far those 205 out of the 300 meters went, but it does leave at least, according to, at least 90 meters that's allowed somewhere in here. Some divide between the east side, some divided between the west side. Up north, again, depending on time, there's two paths we follow, and then, very interestingly, the western end.
So this is where you were walking, around these lines.
Around this circle.
So in that way you avoided going into this area that possibly would be forbidden.
Right, and where's this possibly cross-hatched and 205-meter area? There's 3 main theories. One theory is that this Kipat HaSela, the Dome of the Rock, is the center of where the sanctuary was. This would be where the Aron Kodesh, the Aron, the Ark was, would be right here at the black dot over this foundation stone. And therefore, the 205 meters go in actually not straight across, but sort of like I show here, on an angle area, which is the main accepted theory. There's 2 other theories. The one more to the south, which makes a little bit of a problem, and which is why you have to go further south, and one further north. And finally, there's one more theory, which is a very interesting theory by Rabbi Goren. Even Shtiyah means the foundation stone of the world.
And our friends, the band Even Shtiyah, are on our show, so they named themselves after that foundation rock.
Foundation rock. That's if you say that Shtiyah comes from the Hebrew root shatot, or foundation. But Rabbi Goren felt that he even had a grammatical proof to his theory that everything was moved further west, which means you have to that the forbidden area you have to hug the wall. Now he had it down to approximately 12 meters. Other theories have it up to 89 meters by pushing everything the usual theory with this area being the ark.
So
but if this, according to Rabbi Goren, this area is actually the Mizbeach, the altar, pushing everything further west, and that theory, by the way, came about because Even Shtiyah could mean the drinking rock, and therefore he felt his grammatical proof. There were other reasons that the Mizbeach was here because we know on Sukkot the water-bearing ceremony, the Simchat Beit HaShoeva, it was poured. The water was poured on the southeast corner of the Mizbeach, and if this was the Mizbeach, that would push the Mizbeach, or the altar normally being here, would push the ark all the way toward the western wall.
So what we do is we take all these rabbis' opinions, because nobody's exactly sure, because it was already in the year 70 that it was destroyed, the second temple. So we're talking about 2,000 years almost. And the situation is to be careful to not go under anybody's opinion of where it might have been, so that way you avoid any forbidden territory completely.
Exactly. And it's not just theories based on, like Rabbi Goren did. His theory wasn't based only on this grammatical thing. I'll give another example. The southern theory is based on much archaeological and historical evidence. For example, it was well known by Jewish law that a zav, which is a man with
an issue.
With an issue, yes, maybe
whatever.
Or a metzora needed living
leper.
waters, or a leper needed living waters instead of just a mikvah, standing
Running
water,
waters.
but he needed running water. Well, the only running water was coming from the southern hills. You can see it to this day. The water works under Efrat. You can go down in caves and see it. The water ran up to the Harabayit. The problem was that this area by the rock is higher than here, and the old waterworks would never have brought actual running water, and there's all kinds of problems if you add what's called mayim she'uvim to running waters. Standing water. You don't get mayim chayim, which is running water, stream water, and therefore would not have been okay for a zav and a metzora, a leper, and the zav, and that would therefore they push, and it pushes the whole. South, so everything southward. Josephus has other evidence that standing at the Christianity's Golgotha in the north, you could not see the Temple Mount. Well, if the temple was at the rock where it's felt to be, you could see actually the Temple Mount from all the way from Ramallah being about 10 kilometers north of Yerushalayim. So the southern theory pushes it further enough so that the Temple Mount actually would be in the way, the height of the Temple Mount.
We only have a few minutes left to the show, and I want to know some of the places in walking around that you saw when you went around, because I know some of them are very interesting.
Yes.
You have some pictures and some,
we have some pictures.
Places to show us.
We walked in through Shar HaMugrabi, which we showed, and then walked south and along the southern edge. And the southern edge is very politically important these days, and it's archaeologically important. Here we have a picture of the southern area. This is called Revot Shlomo, Solomon's stable. Solomon never had a stable up there, but it's called that. The Crusaders may have kept their horses there. The southern end has the Al-Aqsa, the Grey Dome Mosque, and right now today, when you walk in, you see columns, Herodian columns, sitting in a courtyard. The columns have been destroyed by the Arabs among this destruction. And another part of the absurdity is that the college student who discovered the destruction was out on further east toward Mount Olives in the valley, and was sifting through the wreckage that the Arabs were dumping into the valley, and the police opened up a file against him, charged him with destroying archaeological relics. But in this area, the Muslims have built, this is now further to the east of Al-Aqsa, the Grey Dome Mosque.
And that's the other mosque that's there in
that's
the background,
the other
right?
mosque, yes, I can show you here, but it's on the southern end. And Al-Aqsa would be here, and the courtyard with the Herodian columns. Only the tops are left. They're taller than I am, intricately carved. This is the area which is very controversial right now. We have here this is the southeast corner. These are Herodian archways. There's some steps leading down to, you can see these archways here. Here they are. And the steps leading down to the archways, they're Herodian. They go all the way from east to west. They held up tremendous buildings. They held up the weight. And the Muslims have built the world's largest underground, second largest mosque, the largest underground mosque. It's all under here. This is 2 football fields long on the southeast corner. And the southeast corner, because of the way they did their construction, is caving in. There's now scaffolding up here on top of the mountain.
We have some video of that you were going to show.
Yes, and both on the south and eastern end, we have a video. And again, more of the absurd. When I was taping it, all of a sudden an Israeli policeman comes up to me. You seem to be too interested in this destruction up here, he says to me. And because they don't want it to get out. And it's embarrassing to them that it got out. It never should have happened. And what we did was you continued to walk along the eastern wall past Shar Rachamim, past Shar Shushan, which is from the very beginning of the Second Temple. Many people feel Shar Shushan is immediately opposite the Golden Dome on the eastern wall. This is standing near Shar Shushan, shooting toward the Golden Dome, the other side. Many people feel there's a second structure here in front of the Golden Dome, which may be the site east of the Golden Dome, maybe the site of the altar. Then we continued around north and around to what's called Shar HaBarzel, which is where we exited. Unfortunately for one of our members, a 20-year-old, he started to say Kaddish out loud and got the vaudeville hook from the police.
This is so amazing. You have a couple more pictures. I'd like to see them quickly before we finish. Shar Hulda. Tell us what Shar Hulda is.
Shar Hulda is in the southern wall, and Shar Hulda is the main entrance for people coming into Har HaBayit in those days. Shar Hulda is very important archaeologically these days because the Mishnayos in Midot say that Shar Hulda was approximately the Talmud 10 meters lower than the platform of the Har HaBayit, which the Har HaBayit is actually now, you can measure it, the Even Shtiya is 20 meters or so higher, and that gives more credence to the southern theory. But Shar Hulda was the main entrance way.
And Shar Rachamim?
Shar Rachamim, again, the God on the eastern side. This is slightly north of Shar Shushan. Shar Shushan is outside of the original Temple Mount. All the southern and northern, I should have mentioned it, southern northern additions, which I showed, to bring it to 5 football fields long, the mount was all done by Herod, made these vast retaining walls, which includes the western wall that we pray to now. And Shar Rachamim is felt that's where the Mashiach would enter Yerushalayim at the end of days.
The time just went by so quickly in all the explanation. Tell me, what is going to be the outcome now of the Jewish people going up on the Temple Mount? In just a minute, if you could tell me in 1 minute's time, what will be and what is the hope that will be? Okay,
well, I think the going up to the Temple Mount is the ultimate computer game, quest game, where the ultimate holy grail. Rabbi Nebenzahl, the rabbi of the Old City, says that all of Noah and his ark rested in the east. All of mankind was supposed to come to the Har HaBayit, to Israel, and only one man made it because Nimrod stopped with the Tower of Babel, stopped all of humanity. One man made it, that was Abraham, the first Jew. There were tremendous brachot, blessings to accrue to people, and that's why Yerushalayim is called Ir Shalem, fulfillment. And being on the Temple Mount and being in Jerusalem represents fulfillment for the Jewish people and a whole different reality. The fruits, the Talmud says, were different than the system of justice, where the Sanhedrin, you could trust Eidim Zomimim, the Sanhedrin could make decisions which cannot be made now because reality was different. Ultimate fulfillment for the Jewish people rests on the return to that mountain.
Well, let's hope that we can all go there someday, and hopefully in the Messianic era we'll all be there together to celebrate with the third temple. I want to thank Dr. Larry Hirsch for being with us here from Israel, and hope he'll be with us again soon. And I want to thank you for being with us, and hope to see you next time right here on Taped with Rabbi Doug. Shalom.
צלול כיין וריח אורנים נישא ברוח ארבעים עם כל פעמונים ותרדמתילן באבן שבויה בחלומה העיר אשר בדד יושב של זהב ושל נחושת